that is going up and down their body from their head to their toes, or from their toes to their head. The physical and the mental anguish is beyond what one here could ever imagine. Mary Kay Baxter. I don't know if anybody's ever heard her, the woman that had a divine revelation of hell. We're going to watch that video one night here. She said she'd remember the worms. She'd say, I believe in her testimony, she'd say the worms would be feeding upon them. The creatures would literally torture these people. I believe that. There is torture from the powers of hell down there. There is torture down there. She'd said, and I believe it was her that made the statement, she could watch the worms that would feed upon them. You could smell the stench of it that was going on. I know some were saying, Lord, I don't want to go to that place. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have to tonight. But I'm not done with the description, because we need to get it in our mindset tonight, what this place is like. Franklin Graham said this: hell is going to be eternally filled with grief and pain and unquenchable fire, as according to the Bible, Luke 3:17, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and will gather the wheat into the gardener, and chaff he will burn with fire unquenchable. Anybody ever been, this is a fire, it ain't never going to be put out. Anybody ever seen a fire? A house fire. I remember when I was on the fire department down in North Carolina. I remember when somebody set a mill on fire and the whole thing was exploding. And I look back at that now, watching how the flames would come up. I thought to myself, Lord, who would want to go in there? They told the fire departments, don't even go in, just fight it from the outside. It was completely going. Can you imagine what it's like down there? Anybody ever been burnt? Anybody ever been burned? Anybody ever burnt themselves with a lighter or over a campfire? This fails in comparison. It will be 3,000 times greater. I don't know. It's going to be far greater than anything you can ever feel upon this earth. You've ever seen someone with second or third degree burns? I've seen pictures of people who would literally be burned unrecognizable. But this fails in comparison to the flames of hell. You see, when somebody gets burned here on this earth, like in a house fire, they'll ship them to a burn center somewhere close by. But in hell, there is no burn centers. There is no stop, drop, and roll in hell. All that is in hell is just unquenchable fire. Can you imagine being stuck in a fire where you're burning and the worm is eating on you, and the torment of the mental anguish along with the physical's got a hold of you? Something to think about. Bill Weiss, anybody ever heard of him? Said in his book, in his Vision of Hell, 23 Minutes in Hell, he said he could literally hear people screaming in fear, for the fire and the brimstone would literally burn down upon them. Can you imagine it? What it's like? Can you imagine being just completely burnt and it never ending? I look at Sodom and Gomorrah, and let me tell you something. At least it came to an end. The city did. But the people there that died in that fire woke up in fire with their unrepentant sin that happened right then and there. I'm telling you, it ain't a place that we need to take lightly. This place of torment goes far beyond what anything can happen upon this earth. People say this is hell now. This ain't hell yet. People ain't seen hell until they abide there. And I pray to God that everybody I come in contact with don't ever have to see that place called hell. Anybody know what I'm talking about tonight? Not only is there fire raining down, but there is darkness, outer darkness that is residing there. Matthew 8 and 12. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Can I tell you, there was a precedent where a darkness was so great that I believe it is a picture of hell. Even in Egypt, they said they could literally feel the darkness. Here it is, Exodus 10 and 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. That's some darkness there, ain't it? Some dark times. Tell you what Bill Weiss said in his book. I know it was felt in Egypt, but I believe darkness was felt far greater than it was in Egypt. He said in his book, 23 Minutes in Hell, he described this darkness something like this. It was not like a darkness on this earth. He said he was once in a coal mine in Arizona that was completely void of light. He says he couldn't see anything, yet there was nothing compared to the darkness of hell. It was through the darkness had its own power that consumed him. The darkness was not simply just the absence of light, but it was a distinctive evil presence, a feeling of death, a penetrating evil. He went on to say he looked over to the right hand and he could see faintly the flames from afar dimly that lit up the skylines. He said the flames was so intense, but it seemed like the darkness would seem to cover the flames up. Now that's some darkness right there. Let me tell you, it is dark in hell, but yet there's flames going. There's no oxygen in hell. I believe that. I believe people are gnashing for air. Just one breath. Just one gas of air. I believe it. Let me tell you why there's so much darkness. Because I'll get there in a minute. It's absent from the love of God, from the presence of God. God's not really, what I'm saying? They no longer feel his presence. Let me tell you, there can't be no true darkness on this earth right now because we still got his presence, don't we? It's a place these people didn't want God and they didn't want nothing to do with God. Now they got it. Now what you have when you got the absence of God is you got evil. You see what I'm saying? It's dark. It's a place of hopelessness. There's no hope. There's no getting out. There's no saying 10 years from now I'll be paroled. There's no parole from hell. It's total hopelessness. You got hope now. But once you abide there, it's gone. People in hell have no hope tonight. Once they make their residence there, it is forever settled. They will be resurrected to appear before the great white throne judgment. Then they'll all be cast into the lake of fire forever. Again, complete torment, torture. It was Millard Eckerson quoted this on hell. It is an experience of intense anguish, a sense of loneliness. There is a realization that as separation is permanent, the hopeless come over an individual there. Pretty much, it is a place of no return, no getting out. There's no water. There's no humidity in the air. I can imagine the man who abides there will experience the dryness of the throat. Anybody ever been working out on a summer day and all of a sudden you begin to crave something to drink and your throat gets dry? Don't feel too good, does it? Can you imagine what it's like in hell? These people just wanting a sip of water but cannot get it because their throat is so dry. hopelessness, despair, what I believe could possibly be a lack of oxygen. Let me tell you what the air is probably filled with down there. It ain't clean air. Nuh-uh. It is a smoky and filthy, decaying odor which fills this place called hell. I don't mean to be gruesome, but if you ever step by somewhere somebody has been burned up in a house fire, you can smell the decay of man. Can you imagine what it's like in hell? And let me get this right here. I'm about ready to give you some Jimmy theology right here. But I believe the condition you leave this world in is the condition you'll wake up in hell in. I know heaven is a place of healing. Hell is a place of torment. I've always said I believe this. I believe if you leave this world with cancer and you go into hell, you'll probably experience that pain down there too. But to never die. You know, in the tribulation period, they said it will get so bad that people will crave to die but cannot. This is why I get this. Maybe it is a picture. Can you imagine during that time in the tribulation where people will try to take a gun to shoot themselves but cannot die? Can you imagine what it's like in hell? The languish, the anguish, the pain, the torment of knowing there's no healing. I'm in this condition forever. It's all gone. It's not a pretty picture, church. And as a preacher, I cannot describe it. The thing that filters the mind down there is the thoughts of hopelessness. The memories of this life that they probably once had. Someone can imagine the thoughts. What if I would have just responded to that message? Why did I listen to this old fallen angel called Satan? Why did I try to reject the gospel? But now, it's too late. Now, it is too late. There's no accepting the gospel in hell as bad as they want to now. They chose their path. There's no getting out. Can you imagine what it would be like to live there? And I'm telling you, if you're under my voice tonight, I don't want nobody in here to go to that place. I've come by to preach this message to scare it out of you and tell you about the love of God to keep you from that place. This place is beyond description. This place beyond our imagination. They're separated from the presence of God down there. Hell is a place of separation from the presence of God. This is the worst part of hell. If there wouldn't be no fire, if there wouldn't be no darkness, being separated from Him would be bad enough. It is the worst. Think about it. They can't feel His presence no more. Can you imagine what it's like? Hatred. When the presence of God ain't there, there's hatred. There's cursing. There's vileness. That's all around. Can you imagine what it's like in hell too? When His presence ain't around? No longer able to have the prayer answered. No longer an opportunity to hear one gospel message. No longer an opportunity to repent. No relief in sight. There's no getting in, turning on the air condition, because it don't exist down there. The carcasses of man, the vileness of this place is just a place of torment and anguish. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 9. Who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of His power. Think about this place of punishment and its separation from God. Let me tell you something. It is everlasting. It is eternal. The point I'm trying to make is this place is an awful place. It's not a Hollywood design. It was designed for Satan and his angels, but man intrudes there on their own. It is a place where the worm never dies.